Growing up, my early childhood was full of lots of wonderful experiences, but also some really significantly painful experiences. By the time I was around 10 years old, I was walking to school one day, and a person on a street corner offered the kid that was walking to school with me and I a psychoactive substance. Asked a few questions to some older siblings in the neighborhood and eventually kind of figured it out. So my first experience with the psychoactive substance was at 10 years old. What happened after we were successful with that is not a lot like on the outside, but inside my soul and in my brain, my self, so to speak, learned that a way to manage the pain of some of my traumatic experiences in childhood was to use a psychoactive substance. That first time using a psychoactive substance turned into a second and a 20th and a 200th. And by the time I was a junior in high school, I dropped out and was using psychoactive substances, full time. From the time I dropped out as a junior, I was in 8 different treatment centers trying to get sober from psychoactive substance use. One of these places, it was a specialized trauma treatment center. And I was 17 at the time, so I was with the adults. And so I'm sleeping in front of the nurse's station because I'm a high-risk patient. And I wake up one morning and there is a person who looks to be about my age drawing a picture of me, which is strange, but considering that I'm in an inpatient, psychiatric trauma treatment unit, it felt like par for the course. So me and this young lady became friends, and her story was similar, childhood trauma, and she was too old to be with the adolescents, but really we were too young to be with the adults. And she shared with me that when she got out, she was going to go back home, and her family was selling her to support their substance abuse habit. And I said to myself, forget that. We're getting out of here. We jimmy open a door and sneak out and run away from this treatment facility. And so we were on the outskirts of New Orleans at the time, and slept under bridges and hitchhiked our way to the inner city. And we were sitting outside of a McDonald's, and this person walks up and says, "Hey, are you guys homeless?" And at that moment, it occurred to me, I am actually homeless. Yeah, used psychoactive substances really intensely, and my life just started to deteriorate. And so for the next 4 years, I was a really, really hardcore IV drug user. I was down to about 127 pounds and was so dehydrated, my hair was falling out, and was really knocking on death's door. And I remember blacking out, and I came to in the driver's seat of my car and blacked out again and came to on my maternal grandparents' front lawn. And so I had OD'd, and they nursed me back to health, and they asked me if I wanted to go to church with them. And so I decided, my life is in shambles. I'm the biggest scumbag, junkie, loser on the planet. I might as well give church a shot. So I show up to church, and I looked a lot different than I do today. I had these taper spike earrings in, black nail polish, a mohawk. Looked really rough. I would fit in well at Trace Church, did not fit in well at the church I showed up to. And there was an evangelist preaching a lesson on being a contender or a pretender for Christ. And as he was preaching, I thought to myself, man, I've always been the biggest pretender on the planet. I have no skills in life. I have no high school degree. I have no work history to show for myself. I'm 21 years old, and I'm just a train wreck. I'm a pretender, always trying to be something that I'm not. The preacher said, if you would like prayer, raise your hand. My hand's going up, and I look at my hand, and I look up at this guy as my hand's going up. And he's like, if you raised your hand for prayer, and he is standing on stage right in front of me. It's if you raised your hand for prayer, I want you to come up and let me pray for you. Come forward. And as God is my witness, something came over me, and I just start getting out of my chair. And so I'm walking down the center aisle, and my family is sitting right here. It's holiday season. And they thought I was going to leave the service or something. And they see me walk past them, and they look at me, and I look at them, and they look at me, and I look at them, and we all just break. And so they're like, this is a miracle, Trent shouldn't even be alive today. And from that day, I've surrendered my life to Jesus Christ, and his love has transformed my heart. And I have been free from addiction for the last 18 years as of December 2nd, 2022. And people will ask me Trent, how did you do it? And I'm like, well, I think my addiction started because I was seeking relief from overwhelming underlying emotional pain that wasn't my fault, but did need to become my responsibility. And the unconditional love of Jesus Christ is the thing that healed the pain that I had tried every possible way you can imagine, and some you can't, to heal. And so that's the secret. The love of Jesus Christ really is the way to resolve underlying emotional pain. And I'm a walking testimony that Jesus is alive, his love is transformational, and that anybody, if I can change, anybody can break their cycle.